Yo, ebusuafo medo bibia se na masanso amo bibia akwa basonko e de abaye Nkasa TV eso ene ne de kan awhwe Nkasa TV beko so asere so be subscribe oba like na wasanso wa share be ma ore emfi so be me odoma no se de bituma so nya bi ahwenya bi ayden etie kasebo na edru ho amede besum mu amia me kasebo yi besum mu yi amosomfo dada ohene bakwa amesafo kantanka kasebo yi na si me na so amede besum mu yi Emre so si ana menim se magima akonya twen sem ne kasebo yesa beka free Nkasa TV freedom wa bia baba so obo na muso nya bia hwenya bia den etie si ebo hwi dia kasebo ni mana je se busuafo asefo fra babeto ho no se ye kokko be mu ana je se Alban Bagbin no na ye mra se bedwani ye speaker anom kasamafo nene nsem bia ba bono ye recording audio bi a omabo we ye court ama akọ etia aye papa yi a chese na ho aba asemi na nye mede ebesom wo ye asembre no ensa no nchemu abetodwa yenkoti nsem no nchemu
na nyankwaje nsem no nchemu ne wia na sansan ba ebetu nkomo nsem bebre e kam edam asen.
Please let it be known that when it comes to law making, until all the processes in this house are exhausted, there is no business for anybody, including the courts, to consider. Because the Constitution and the enabling legislation takes care of all these challenges. Until if it is a law, it is assented to by the president, judiciary has no jurisdiction to try to pry into it. This is notice. We have to take this seriously, or else our legislative authority is being taken away from us by other agencies and arms of government. That should be resisted by this house, or else your being here is of no consequence. The law is very clear on this, and so until a bill is assented to by the president, nobody has any business to take that process that is being considered by the house to the court. And I don't want to preempt the judgment of the Supreme Court in this matter. But I'm giving notice because on daily basis, I'm being served with rates as a party on matters that are being considered by the House. That's why I'm compelled to say this.
The question I wanted to ask all of you, but I thought I would hold on till I had heard from Parliament whether in our constitutional histories, from First Republic to Fourth Republic, we have had a private members bill such as this.
Right. Respectfully, indeed, the situation is novel, and it occurred only in the life of the 7th Parliament, which was from 2017 to 2021. It was in that time that the Speaker, the former
in the
very last Parliament.
The very last Parliament.
Yes, that's the Speaker of Parliament, then Professor Michael Quay, quite innovatively encouraged the initiation of private members bill, and it was the first private members bill. It did not involve any charge of reserve fund at all.
Which was?
I forgot the assignment matter. I think it was not a very controversial assignment matter, and for that matter, it didn't really. But there was one such bill. I believe the Council for the First Finality may assist the court in that regard. But the first bill was introduced in Professor Michael Quay's tenure as Speaker of Parliament. I think 2019 or so. And so hitherto there was no such concern as to the implications of a bill for Article 108, because all bills emanated from the executive. So there was implied in the introduction of such a bill a consideration of the financial implications. And indeed, there was no concern because the basis for the Speaker to exercise or the person presiding to make a determination did not arise because it was from the executive. But that is why I consider this point so important that I think the court ought to be given an opportunity of determining the issue, whether indeed there has been an infraction of Article 108 or not. Because from 1957, the provision has been present in every constitution the country has had, apart from the 1961. And the 1960 was quite peculiar, as you said. It gave somebody a life president's status. So that's quite different. My preference, I would say, would be for the courts to preserve the status quo, determine the question, and then if the determination is made whichever way, then the nation can move on.
Determine which question? Determine the question in the substantive suit, or determine the question in this application?
No, madam, determine the questions in the substantive suit.
The substantive suit.
So pending that, then there ought to be a preservation of the status quo for the court to give an opportunity of determining. So clearly, it is only where the court considers the collective good of the nation. And I would say that in matters that border on withdrawals from the constituted fund or the use of the public purse, as I have with all respect demonstrated before you, the collective good actually will be in respect of holding the status quo for the court to indeed determine whether the bill that is being sought to be, for want of better expression, rushed, is in the public good or indeed affects the public purse. If the bill affects the public purse, then with all respect, the court owes a duty to halt the progress of that bill. But I would also quickly address the point that this is actually not a case where the law in question is at its formative stages or going through the processes in Parliament. Indeed, all the processes in Parliament have been completed. Parliament effectively has concluded the processes. And indeed, now, if what is supposed to be transmitted to the President will actually be titled an act, it is just to the signature of the President and then to become law. And I would say that, having regard to the completion of the processes in Parliament, what Parliament has done will constitute an act under Article 2, Clause 1, Paragraph B of the Constitution.
So your presentation or your submission is that the jurisdiction of this court has been properly invoked?
Yes, as
for this application or for the substantive action?
Pardon me?
For this application or for the substantive action?
I'm only saying so because of the requirement in injunctions to show the
prima facie
case as well as a substantial important question of law.
I think, can you clarify that point? I think I missed it. You are saying that Parliament has completed its processes, its procedures, and what they are seeking to do is an act that's beyond its proceedings.
No, I'm saying that now we can actually find an act having been committed. And the act has been committed. In fact, two acts. First is the opinion of the person presiding, which in itself will constitute an act. The determination by the person presiding will constitute an act by the person, not an act of Parliament.
To help all of us, I think that I want to read 2(1)(a). A person who alleges that any act or admission of any person is inconsistent with. This is what you mean. Attorney General.